Good morning, everyone. Another morning of grey skies here in Juma Private Game Reserve. The skies are heavy, but I hope we don't get rain. As much as I love rain, I would really like to enjoy my last day today here driving around. But good morning, good morning. My name is Lauren and I do have Owen on camera today. Yes, we shall both be off tomorrow and I'm hoping for a very exciting drive, that's for sure. As we sort of bumble around, I'm going to look out for spots of both kinds. I'm going to look for spotted hyenas and I'm going to look for some leopards. Start at the hyena den, my very favorite place to be, and it's my last day to do that. And then I might loop around and try and sort of figure out about Miss Klalamba. Is she on Juma? Is she not? I do not know the answer, but that's my plan for today. But as you know, you shouldn't really make a plan because plans never go to plan. Why? Well, because this safari is live, completely, and interactive. So please do talk to us, everyone. Your questions are really important to keep us going out here. We actually drive for 7 hours a day. So we want someone to talk to, and that someone is all of you. So send in your questions and comments using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can submit your questions under the live safari page on the website as long as you've registered. And if we're driving and not finding animals, which happens, then of course we want to hear from you even more, and we can at that point talk about anything. Now I will be on the radio a little bit today. Today is transition day where we welcome new people to traverse Juma. I'm just going to try and manage that to assist Michelle as much as possible. So I will be on the radio. I'm not going to turn it down today, just, well, to assist. Finally, vehicles are traversing Juma. I'm very excited about that. I'm going to play tricks on all of them if I can. Okay, OD, let's bumble. Wendy, do not do this to me. I have taken good care of you this month. There we go. She listened. There we go. But yesterday's afternoon drive and morning drive actually were nothing short of phenomenal. They were really, really incredible. Although we had grey skies in the morning, the hyenas were all out and about, and of course the afternoon was even more spectacular. So I'm hoping the sun pops out, but let's check with the weatherman.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment we are enjoying the dawn chorus and the views on the Drakensberg Mountains. While at the same time we're also listening for all kinds of animal sounds. And we're hoping to find the lions. They were around by in the area last night. And hopefully we'll be hearing them soon or be able to find some of their tracks. So my name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Darby. So our plan is to head out after listening to all the different sounds and see what we can go and find. Some of the other animals that I would like to go and find for this morning is hopefully an elephant and a big herd of buffalo that has been moving through the area. But in the meanwhile, let's enjoy that dawn chorus as well as the views on the Drakensberg Mountains, because that beautiful dawn chorus is not going to be around for much longer as the breeding season has now come to an end. Good morning, Anna-Marie, and welcome to the show. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer, enjoy the view as well as all the different sounds of the birds in the background. But in the meanwhile, let's go and see what Tess is up to.
Good morning everybody. I'm so happy to start my day off with our little family of guinea fowls. Gert and I definitely have the best luck with baby birds in the road. And it looks as though everybody is enjoying the nice cool weather without being wet for a change. So they're all coming out into the road and busy feeding along the edges as they go. But have a look at how tiny some of those babies are. What a good morning, starting off with some guinea fowl chicks. My name is Tess. I'm going to be your guide on safari this morning. Behind the camera is Gert. And we've got some pretty cool plans for the day. Starting off with our little baby birds. And then from here we're going to be going onto the western boundary. And we're going to be checking a little bit of the northern boundary as well. Hoping to see if we can find any fresh tracks of the wild dogs or the lions crossing in anywhere. This is also the area where Kara has been seen recently. So we got the possibility of anything where we are at the moment. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I would much rather enjoy the little guinea fowl chicks. There's actually quite a large family of guinea fowls that we're watching. And it looks like definitely more than one female had a brood that hatched here. The chicks are different ages, so I'm hoping you get to see a clear view of them soon. You can see the odd little glimpse of one there underneath all the bodies. But everyone's taking a break from breakfast just to kind of preen the feathers a bit. Get everything back in order. The last time I saw them, they were all absolutely drenched from the water. Joanna, I agree. Actually, guinea fowl chicks are one of the prettiest chicks that you can find. When they're very young, they look almost like a Coqui Franklin. Very pretty markings down the feathers and quite courageous too. But I just think it's very special that we're seeing different ages of chicks here. Have a look at how small that one is on the right, just on the grass line. Very young chick. Very freshly hatched. And it looks like there's 3 of that kind of size. Oh, there you can see one on the left as well now. Look at that size difference between the 2 chicks. It definitely looks as though everybody's just getting themselves in order this morning and appreciating not being wet. Darby, you're wanting to know when they change colours or when they start getting the blue on their heads. I'm actually not 100% sure at what age that would happen. Let me double check that for you and I can get back to you. But it should be quite late in life. Birds are actually fairly late bloomers with this kind of thing, so the average is probably about a year old. They're still going to be this coloration for quite a while though, I can tell you that much. They have to be able to blend into the grass and the soil when they're this young to make sure that if mom tells them to go and sit somewhere and they sit, that they're not going to get in trouble by being a ground bird. To me, that blue on the head actually almost looks a little bit like a velociraptor. You can tell that they are very closely related to reptiles. Basil, I agree. I think it's a very good treat to have so many together. It's actually the most I've seen together in quite a long time as well. I must be honest with you. You don't often see many guinea fowls together, but I do remember stories from when I was younger of seeing sometimes up to 50 guinea fowls together. And they tend to panic quite easily, so it creates quite an entertaining scenario if they hear a branch breaking and they all flee across the road and then one of them turns around, the whole group turns around. And it seems a bit chaotic when a guinea fowl does anything. So it's always entertaining to watch them. But I'm loving that there's so many little ones too. I think it's probably the biggest brood of guinea fowl chicks that I've seen in a long time. But even with the adults, I've been looking at the blue and red on their faces, and it almost is as though there's one that's sub-adult. It's right at the back at the moment, and you can see it's not as blue on the face. So keep a lookout for one adult that doesn't have the blue on the face, and that one seems to be changing still. What a lucky start to my morning. So what I want to do is, now that they are moving again, and they seem to be just walking along the fringe of the grass looking for food along the edge and teaching the little ones, they're learning through watching. I just want to watch and see where they go and just appreciate a bit of their movements as a family. They heard me say that and they're leaving. And it seems like that is the last glimpse we are going to get. Although the one chick did come running back out and back in again, maybe just confused about where to go with all the adults around. Okay. I am going to head on a little bit down the road since our guinea fowl family has left us. But what a special way to start the morning. They were actually very relaxed today compared to yesterday. No, day before, when they were so wet. And you can see why. I mean, when you're dry, you're a lot more comfortable. They were absolutely soaking from all the moisture in the grass and from all the rain. Poor things. Alright, on the search we go. Let's see what we can find along our boundaries today. Do a bit of a predator bumble while we look for my wild flower. Actually some zebra tracks. I think it's going to be a very lucky morning, hopefully without any rain to keep us dry today.
Active den I wanted and active den I got. It's rather unfortunate. 2 have already disappeared. 2 sub-adults have already left. One of them was Novella. And I'm just trying to figure out if this sub-adult is Gingi or Nguas. Heart's at the den. Heart is some mother. But I just need to see that sort of spot pattern to see if it's Gingi or Ngwazi. I think it's Gingirika. Which is actually really lovely because that's a mom. Oh, leopard lover, I know. I know. I will enjoy. I'm going to miss the hyenas terribly. Really, I will. It's, I will. Hello, you. Good morning. Are you coming for my tires? Oh, I bet you are. I bet you are. Yes. Now you know what they are. The magical world of tires. Hello. Oh, here we go. The car is much, much fascination if you're a hyena. Maybe they can clean it for me. I need to clean the car today. To hand it over. Hello. Good morning. If you think about it, for all the adults and the sub-adults, they're sort of used to this vehicle being part of their childhood. Candace, you're saying hyenas stick. Yes, we've got lucky. Already, hyenas. I put it out there into the universe. And the universe delivered. I just wanted an active day, and there were others around, but naturally they have disappeared. And it was 2 sub-adults. I could see that one was Novella. And if you do think about it, the sub-adults, I've just finished their cub life, and a large part of their cub life was the cars. They're very, very curious. Even in the Masai Mara, hyenas will come to cars. Think of all the smells. I don't think it would smell nice, but they are obviously very intrigued. Tires, things they can put their mouth around. Novella's the one that doesn't really come to the car too much. Novella's still quite shy. It's got a timid little hyena, Novella. She might not stay that way. But I always find it so peaceful at the hyena den. I didn't catch that name, but my goodness, I don't actually know the number of cubs I have seen at the one time. I mean, last year there were 7 in that sort of bout. Ngwazi, Shimbulu, Gingirika, Pumela, Braveheart, Novella, and Ntambu. But before that, when I first arrived, there was the other sort of batch of hyenas. Plonk, Sutu, Swana, Ndebele, Swazi. It was sort of that group, if you like, of hyenas. I don't actually know how many I've seen, but last year there was definitely 7 all at once. That's for sure. I don't actually know. I think in the Masai Mara. I think in the Masai Mara, my goodness, there was cubs for days used to arrive at that den site. And it wasn't a termite mound like this. It was sort of like a burrow system into the ground. And must have been up to 20 cubs. They would all run under your car, and all you would hear was clank, clunk, bang, clunk, bang. And they all sort of spurred each other on. I think it was with the North clan, not so much the Juma clan. They had a lot of cubs. I miss the North clan. I got to know some of them so well, and I would really love to go up and see them again. And they're a different clan, you know, numbers are bigger, dynamics are bigger. They also had a matriarchal takeover. But just different dynamics because the numbers are so much bigger. Different den sites because not all the cubs can fit into one den. Oh, North clan were great. I also got to know the Olololo clan, not as well. The Happy Zebra clan. The South clan, there's a North clan and a South clan. There's a lot of spotted hyenas in the Masai Mara. One of my favorite bird calls is also going right now. The stand is situated right next to a drainage line, so really in terms of bird calls, it's perfect. So to leave right here, and you guys are gonna go to this.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Islands. We're taking a short little drive around and see what we can go and find. At the moment we are driving through an area where there's a lot of dead leadwood trees. Those are the skeleton tree-like trees that you are seeing over there. Quite often these trees are still standing, so almost 100 years after the tree has actually died. And the tree itself has got a potential of reaching ages of almost 1,000 plus years. It's amazing how long-lived many of the tree species is that's out here. Other than that, it's also one of the densest, heaviest woods, and we find that even termites can't actually break it down. If you are looking for some really good firewood, that was one of the choice firewoods that they used to use, as that you had to use incredibly small amounts of it. And that's where the Afrikaans name harde kool comes from, meaning hard coal, because of the high quality coal that it produces. And then the English name lead, or wood, that pretty much implies that it is one of the heaviest, densest wood species out here. However, it's surpassed by species such as zebra wood, as well as red bush willow. So far it's quite quiet out here. There's a few impalas that's popping up from our side over here. Good morning, Kenny, and welcome to the show. If you are going to look at what is the best wood to use for a fire, I always will look for the tree that has the less impact on the environment. So something that is a natural encroaching species, such as sickle bush, makes actually for excellent firewood. I never go for any of the endangered hardwood species if I do collect firewood. We also often find that mopani makes a great fire. I'm just going to swing the vehicle for a little bit. Let's just go a little bit forward. I'm going to come back to that to answer for you now. And the reason is why I do like using mopani as well as sickle bush. As mentioned earlier, both of these are naturally encroaching species. We quite often find that they have to be harvested and collected in certain areas, and to prevent that they overgrow that area. And in that case, that wood can be then sold in a sustainable manner without actually damaging the natural ecosystem. It's got a large amount of impalas walking down the road. We've also got some wildebeest as well as some zebra that's heading down the road at the moment. I'm just going to keep the camera on them and just see what they get up to. Another vehicle that's joining us. I also would love to come and have a look. I was going to give them the opportunity to make their way in as well into the sighting. Good morning, Jonah, and welcome to the show. The biggest tree I've actually ever seen is the Sugali big tree, which is a giant baobab, which you find in the northern parts of Limpopo province, in the Mutale military base. It's no longer a functional military base, but if you would love to go and visit that tree, that's absolutely gigantic. If I remember correctly, it's either 24 or 36 people that can actually hold hands and then complete the whole circumference of a tree. That's how thick that tree is. It's also home to a number of very specialized swifts, which is known as spine-tails, which actually lacks a tail. And I just love watching those little spine-tails coming out of the hollow of that big baobab tree. So if you do go and visit our eco-training camp up in the Makuleki concession, there's a number of very, very impressive baobabs in that area too. And they too are home to a number of the different spine-tail species. So as we're watching Paulus and wildebeest and zebra busy grazing, let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to.
So we've actually just found some elephants that are about to cross onto Triple M. They're actually coming towards us, and we've just parked the vehicle. And I want to see what happens as we sit here and watch this little family come closer. Sorry everybody, just turning my radio down. So this is a fairly young calf. We can only see 4 elephants at the moment, but all quite well hidden. So I'm not sure what the size of this herd is. It just seems as though they are enjoying feeding along the edge of the fire break here on Triple M. I'm wondering if we're going to get lucky and have them come out towards the road. Oh, I love that sound. So have a listen to those sounds. She's actually trying to scratch herself on the branch. A little calf following behind. The little calf is actually smelling us at the moment, so it's paused and putting its trunk towards us. Have a look how it's got its trunk in the air like that. Just analysing what we're doing. Older calf than I thought when we arrived, actually. It was just hidden by the grass at the time. Definitely a lovely start to the morning. We've still got one more little elephant coming through here. So we've got a small herd on Triple M. They're moving down along the fire break. They're actually looking as though they wanted to come towards the road, but now it seems as though they are heading straight into the thickets, into the seep line on the other side of the fire break. Definitely smelling us, not as comfortable as they usually are. And that could be because of the weather at the moment. Overcast weather, and it looks like only one big female and then 2 older calves, so possibly she's split from the rest of the herd. And so that could be the reason why she's a little bit more nervous. She's got an older calf, a younger calf, and she's pregnant, and so she is going to be nervous about that for a while. I'm just going to bring you forwards because it does look like they want to cross, but they're even far in. We're a little bit uneven over here, but we're just going to watch them cross the road quickly, and then we will carry on. They're actually crossing over into Simambili, crossing west. I wonder if they're following behind the end of the herd. Danny, yes, elephant twins are a thing. It's not extremely common, but yes, we have seen elephant twins. All it means is that the calves, just like human babies would be, the calves are a little smaller than the average newborn calf. But yes, elephants can deal with it a lot better than other animals can because of their size. They don't have as many predators. So if you have elephant twins, it is fairly likely that both will survive. So it's quite lovely. I've seen, I think, 2 sets of elephant twins in my guiding career, which in itself is a bit of a miracle because it's a rare occurrence. It does happen, but it's rare. So I've been very, very lucky. they're very tiny calves when they're born, much smaller than the normal newborn, which in itself is small enough. So a very special thing to witness. But I'm glad we got to see a glimpse of elephants this morning. That always makes my day. I'm now back to driving south along Triple M, and I'm looking for some tracks. I do think it's a bit strange that there were just 3 elephants there, especially with those ages, but you might find what she's done is moved a little bit away from the rest of the herd, and then they'll follow on behind in the distance. But it sounds like Lauren is living her best life at the hyena den, and I definitely want to share her happiness with you all. So let's go over there.
I have had the best time. We've had Ribbon here, Ngwazi here, Navella, and I think it was Kaikau, one of the males. Everybody's been here. Well, sadly, they've gone again. But Gingi's still here. And that's actually really, really lovely to see her because she is, of course, Hart's daughter. So this is Hart, Gingi, and Hart's other cub, who I'm convinced is also a girl. But naturally, we could always be wrong on that. And this is Gwen's sort of lineage right here. When we say Gwen's den, Gwen was Hart's mum. And it's nice because I haven't really seen Gingi around the den that much. I think once or twice, but not really that much. And it's nice to just see her being with her mother. It's important. The mother-daughter dynamics are very important in a matriarchal society. And Gingi's getting big. She's getting bigger than Ngwazi. You can see it. And Ngwazi's obviously a male. So he started off his life as high-ranked and he's now low. Momo, you're saying they're obviously planning my farewell party. Yes, there was a lot of hyenas here just moments ago. My farewell. I'll get sad. It's really important with the hyenas. I know not everyone enjoys them. Someone even called it an obsession, but it's not. It's just like we follow the leopards here, we follow the lions, we follow the hyenas. And Tessa said to me something that I thought was really quite interesting. She obviously comes from working in different parts of South Africa. And she said she's really never come across a hyena clan that has been so extensively studied. Now, obviously, I've worked with the North clan, who have been extensively studied up there. I worked really closely with the hyena group, and we used to go out on little missions all for hyenas. But it really is fascinating to have a clan that we know so well. And even before my time, we know the lineage, we know the mothers, the grandmothers, we understand the ranking system. And even what happened with Corky and Ribbon, that's an ongoing thing. That's something that was quite shocking when it happened at the time, but also we understand it. And Gingi's been here playing with Ribbon's cubs. She can't get enough of them. Swazi and Ndebele, who also beat up Ribbon during that sort of tough time when Ribbon was getting put back in her place, they also love Ribbon's cubs. And it's really not about killing Ribbon. She was just here moments ago. It's just about knowing your place in society's strict ranking system. And we understand that. We understand what happened. It was remarkable. And I'm not entirely sure it's been recorded in literature where the underdog takes over. Waffles did it. Waffles did a takeover. She was the underdog. She was at the bottom. But then the one that got shoved off the top spot coming back again, like Corky did. I'm honestly not sure that's been recorded. I've tried to document it as best as I could, but the sad thing was I wasn't here. I was devastated. But I've tried to put all my knowledge together from what I know happened and just document it because it was amazing that Corky just decided, nope. Was it because she's lost? She lost Plonk. Then she lost Braveheart. And is it to do with that maternal instinct that she feels she needs to be at the top? I don't believe it was because Ribbon had cubs. But was it because Corky got pregnant? And was it because Corky wanted to have her offspring at the top again because she suffered a lot of loss? I guess we'll never know the reason why, but we understand on some level what happened. We understand what happened and how it happened, but what actually sparked Corky's decision to do that? Or is she just feeling fit again and strong again? She's old. Oh my goodness, I definitely didn't get that name. Are you asking about brown hyenas? You're asking if brown hyenas behave in the same way and do we get them in Juma? Unfortunately, we don't get them in Juma. Rexon had a sighting of one many, many moons ago. He saw one brown hyena on Juma, but we don't get them. And no, they don't behave in the same way. Not in such a strict matriarchal society like this one. Spotted hyenas are definitely more complex, if you like, but brown hyenas are social. They still do have clans, if that makes sense. They still do live in a clan, but it's nowhere near as complex as the spotted hyenas. You'll find them a lot more on their own. At den sightings, it can be quite communal, but it's not the same social structure. But brown hyenas are not uncommon, actually, if you go to certain parts of South Africa. Marataba, Madikwe, the Waterberg, that sort of area, and even the Pilansberg. They're said to be quite common there. You will see them. But generally, in their behavior, they are quite elusive and shy, nocturnal. I had the most fantastic sighting at Madikwe. I'd been complaining and complaining. I've never seen a brown hyena. And Davy had seen them at Swallow, and I was so jealous. And I gave Dylan, remember Dylan? I gave Dylan such a hard time. Dylan, you must find me a brown hyena. And he didn't. And at Madikwe, we were just having sundowners because I was a guest. I actually got to have sundowners. And we were just standing at my rhino off in the distance. And we just heard this noise of something walking towards us. And when we all turned around, we were out of the vehicle. A brown hyena just walked up to us and right past us. So it wasn't just a sighting, it was a creme de la creme, 10 out of 10 sighting. It was really, really quite something. I couldn't have asked for any more, actually. A brown hyena just walking right up to us. So it was no longer my nemesis animal. I can hear Wendy being torn apart underneath you. Gingi's facial shape is very like our mother's. I find Heart's got quite unique eyes and quite unique cheekbones. Mercy Cat. Sorry, the radio went off at the same time. I didn't get that, but I will get it in just a moment. But yeah, Heart's cheekbones are quite wide at the side of the eye. She's got quite a heart-shaped face, actually, if you look closely. And Gingi's going the same way. I really think that Sutu's got the same build as her mum, and even I saw, Michael, you were saying even the same build as June's mum, Scarback. And I see the same facial shape across Heart and Gingi. Ah, Mercy Cat, you're saying you love how much I know and tell you guys about hyenas. Yes, I do know a lot about these guys. For me, it's just the interactions and watching the clan dynamics. Ribbon was here and Gwazi was here. I've seen them all grow up from cubs. I've seen them all go through tough times, go through good times. Love the interactions at the den. I love how much they really enjoy socializing, especially with the cubs. It doesn't matter whose cubs they are, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter that Ribbon's cubs are low and Heart's cub is high. It's just so lovely. All the spot patterns were so different. Interesting. Heart's been a bit authoritative here. Anyway, we are just going to sit here a little bit longer and watch this drama unfold.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment we are following up on the tracks of a leopard with a cub. She was spotted last night and we were really hoping to find her. So the tracks actually went into an area where we could no longer follow with a vehicle or neither on foot. So now we're just going to see if the tracks will actually pop out on one of these roads over here and then we can continue following up from there. For me, leopard is always the first prize animal to actually find on safari. Yeah, it's probably one of the most difficult of the big five in some areas, as it's quite elusive at times. However, in some areas, they do become very, very tame and used to people. We even find that in some of the camps in the south, they often will actually go into the rest camps and have their young inside there, as they find it much safer than actually denning outside. And for a young leopard, the main risk is another potential leopard that might come into the area. If it's a male that might try and take over their territory, and definitely hyenas. If they do find them, they will try and kill them. But leopards, and young leopards, they've got the ability of actually climbing into very small little crevices and hiding themselves there when they are left unattended. We're just going to continue driving and see if we can go and find them.
We are having the luckiest elephant morning over here, everybody. And what's more exciting to me is this is the same herd I saw yesterday on the opposite boundary. I'm now on Gowrie, Main, which is the southern boundary. I saw the same herd on Buffelshoek cut line yesterday afternoon. And the reason I know it's the same herd is because I've glimpsed the elephant that has a hole in its ear. And so I'm patiently waiting to see if there might be some little ones here with them. I got so excited yesterday afternoon when I saw that there were 2 new calves with the herd. There's the female with the hole in her ear. You can see the cyst or the growth on this side where it's been leaking a bit this morning. And I'm just waiting to see how many more elephants we have here. We can only see 3 at the moment, but I'm hoping, because they're actually coming into Djuma from the south, I'm hoping the rest of the herd might actually be here. Becky, it's a good question. Elephants are quite strange because of their body size. In order to grow this big, evolutionary terms, sorry, they have to make a few trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs that they had to make was that their digestive system isn't as good as processing or digesting in other animals like lions, for example, which are smaller, or even like kudus, which are much smaller. So what this means is it would take too much energy to have a very efficient digestive system if your body is that size. So what they have adapted to is feeding constantly throughout the day and the night, usually for 20 to 23 hours of a 24-hour day. They'll feed constantly. And this is because their digestive system, as they're taking in especially fibrous things, plant materials are very, very hard with the cellulose in the plant walls. It's tough to break down. So about 60% of what an elephant eats, so all of the grass that this youngster is eating at the moment, it's actually a young male, all the grass that he's eating, 60% of that is going to come out completely untouched. It might be in smaller pieces, but it won't be digested. And so in order to get enough food in constantly, so slow energy burn to keep such a big body going, you've got to be able to put food in almost all the time. Only about 40% of it will actually be converted into energy. The rest is throughput out the other side, producing up to 150 kilograms of dung in a day from all of that stuff that's not being digested. So this is why a big male elephant will have to eat anywhere up to 300 kilograms of food in a day. It's just a constant input and output process. It's not quite the same as something small. You know, even an impala has a very efficient digestive system. So they always look like they're feeding, but they'll actually not be feeding 24/7. And because their digestive system works better, instead of having to eat a lot of food, they can eat less food and digest it faster, and so their energy is there. So they can eat higher quality foods as well instead of lower quality foods for a slow burn. What I have noticed from yesterday to today is that this bull wasn't with the herd yesterday. He looks like he might be coming into must. And I wonder if he's following the herd because there might be a female coming into estrus. He's very young to be mating, but you never know, maybe he's giving it a chance before a bigger bull comes along. You can see his temporal glands are streaming down the side of his face there. But he is very calm regardless. Oh, listen to that sound of him pulling the grass out. I'm actually wondering, the rest of the herd seems to have gone further south. Sorry, FC, I didn't quite get that. That broke up quite badly. If you could please repeat the question so I could answer it. So I'm glad that you think that elephants have a special element to them. I agree. There's something very magical about being next to gentle giants. I think an elephant is almost one of everybody's favorites because of how unusual they are, because of how big they are. And actually, for the body size of this male, he's got pretty decent tusks. I actually remember seeing this bull on quarantine yesterday because I recognized the one shorter tusk, the one on his left, our right. I'm going to spend a bit more time with him and just see what happens, especially since I have now recognized him from quarantine. Just see where he goes and see if I can find these little calves in the herd. But while I wait patiently for that to happen, it sounds like the hyenas are planning Lauren's farewell party. Let's head over and have a look.
It's all still very active here with Hart and Gingy. If you think it wasn't that long, Gingerica was den bound and she probably just loves it. The smells, the sounds. And of course, the cubs love having an older adult hyena to play with. They love it. And I think Heart also loves it because it probably gets rid of a lot of their energy. Where is everybody going? Yeah, I honestly could not possibly say one single thing. They are utterly weird but fascinating animals. Weird from a human perspective, of course. I really also feel there's a lot more to learn about them. I don't think it is quite as simple as Corky at the top, then Heart. Yeah, of course, that's the way we analyze it, but I think spotted hyenas are really not studied that much. And there is a huge program from the University of Michigan happening in Eastern Africa, mostly the Masai Mara, where they really do work hard. And most of the papers are by Dr. Holkamp, Kay Holkamp, and most of the hyena papers that you will read are published by her. She's sort of a hyena expert. But in terms of the low-felt hyenas, I think there's a lot more that we have to learn. I really don't think we know everything. It's a different topography here. It's a different landscape. It's a different sort of social space in terms of the dynamics of King Kavika's picking that cup up by his head. No, Heart's gonna scold you. Heart's really managing Gengi here. And also, it's an incredibly different landscape in terms of predator density. So the low veld is chock-a-block with leopards right now, as you know. There's also a lot of lion prides. Okay, we don't see lions every day because Juma's small and their territories are huge. There are a lot of lions around, a lot of wild dog packs. Other hyenas, we also don't get to see them. There is currently a clan dining on Ankoro that come from the Kruger side, and then there is the Elephant Plains clan, and I'm sure there's a clan up in Bufosuk. So there's so much happening in such a small space, so it's packed in terms of predators. That will also directly and indirectly affect the behavior of the low-felt hyenas. So I don't think we fully know everything. I think there is a lot still to be discovered about hyenas, and you've got to remember geographic locations will create differences even though it's the same species. Even though up in the Masai Mara it's still the spotted hyena, it's the same species, there will be differences due to geographic location, 100%. So in terms of what is the most interesting thing, my goodness, I think if I had to choose one single thing, it would be their social alliances, aka the friendships. I use that word loosely, but that strong bond that they form, they're very loyal to their friendships. And I think Indabele and Swaz are the perfect example of that. I think they really highlight that. There's a really interesting paper on it as well. If you type in social alliances and spotted hyenas, it'll come up. You can get the PDF version for free online. And Swaz and Indabele show such loyalty to Corky. There's a really nice bond there, and that is solely because Corky was best friends with their mother, Pretty. And when I say best friends, Corky and Pretty were always together. They were both high ranked. Pretty is a daughter of Madam. We always thought that Pretty would be the matriarch, but it turned out to be Corky. And either way, Pretty totally respected Corky, and they were sort of two peas in a pod. Now, Pretty passed, but it appears what's come to light is that Corky has kept up that honor of staying close to Pretty's offspring. And Indabele and Swazi have really came into their own since the takeover. And I think for me, the friendships that they form is also very, very prevalent in the Masai Mara. Is really fascinating. It's loyalty on some level, and it's not just your own offspring. And Tima and Ribbon have always been close, but they're mother and daughter. And I think that if I had to choose one single thing, that would be it. But they're such fascinating creatures, and I know not everyone enjoys them, and that's okay. Not everyone enjoys everything. But for me, it's important that we follow these guys. It's important that they get the recognition they deserve. Okay, everyone is just running amok here. I'm going to try and figure out where the adults went, and hopefully we can stay here a little bit longer.
Unfortunately, my elephants decided to actually cross south. So they went towards Little Gowrie, that kind of area, over Gowrie Main. And that was the herd with the little calves. The big bull was actually still on the Djuma side, relaxing nicely, and he actually stayed a little bit further away than the rest. So I've carried on with my bumble. I'm about to arrive at Treehouse Dam. I want to just have a look if there's anything around here this morning. And just maybe sit and listen for a little bit. Beautiful bird calls. And you never know what you'll hear. I have heard quite a few hyenas calling this morning. Maybe we'll get lucky. I am wearing my lucky shirt. And I've double braided my hair. But I just love sitting at the water holes, especially now. You can see the light is just starting to change a bit. We've got a bit of golden light breaking through the cloud cover. And I'm hoping that means that the animals are going to get a little bit more active today. I feel like we've already had such good luck with the elephants this morning. Right, let's see what we've got at the dam. Oh, that is actually quite an ominous looking sky, everybody. There's some serious cloud cover building there. Just when we thought we'd have a blue sky kind of day, we were mistaken. How beautiful is it to sit here? I'm going to spend quite a few minutes just so we can see what's around. So, sitting up here on Treehouse Dam Wall, we're just having a little bit of a look around. We're close to where the elephants were and disappeared, south over the boundary. And we're just having a little bit of a scan. You can see we've still got the rain roof on for very obvious reasons. Have a look at those clouds. And it just seems like such a tranquil morning. Oh, hello, laughing dove. We've got a lot of birds around this morning. We're hearing the calls. And I just want to spend a little bit of time listening because there's no big mammals around. I want to listen in case there are some in the distance or any indication of what might be around. I can hear oxpeckers, which means there might be some larger animals coming in. But for the most part, a very, very tranquil morning here at Treehouse Dam. I will be doing my bird call challenge with you just now, but for now I do want to just gather some information. Anita, they really are very soothing bird calls. We've been very lucky with bird calls in the last few days. It seems to be a lot more active recently. And it makes for any scene to turn out as beautiful, you know. Those clouds are looking a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. Glad I kept the rain roof on. Let's just have a listen for a little bit because some chagras are calling, some of my favorites. Our blacksmith lapwings are here. Maybe we'll get lucky with that unusual bird call. Oh, I'm loving that reflection. Oh, it's time for the morning bath. Lapwings have a very distinct way of bathing themselves in the water with those long legs. If I look out, it taps its tail down at the back, creating all those ripples. Now, oftentimes what you'll see is when the blacksmith lapwing is bathing, the partner might actually come and join. Chana, I agree. It's actually quite a sweet moment to watch. Especially the way the lapwing does it. I don't know, there's just something about it. Now time to dry off. You might find it might start preening its feathers. There you go. Give itself a bit of a fluff every now and then. Maybe now that it's warming up, it's decided it is time to clean for the day. The partner is slowly coming over, so we might see it join this one just now. I had a very special sighting probably almost 2 weeks ago now, where I had both of them bathing in the water at the same time. I don't know about everybody else, but this is why I feel like I could sit at a waterhole all day. It is so tranquil. Listen to those sounds. Billigy, yes, it certainly does look like a mirror this morning. When you can see a reflection like this, you know it's going to be a good day. There's no breeze. Everybody's nice and relaxed around the waterhole, and it's honestly just a stunning view. I wasn't expecting the cloud cover to be so intense today. We've actually got a very, very low chance of rain, but it certainly doesn't look like it from the clouds. So perhaps we will get some unexpected rain today. Now, interestingly enough, I haven't seen any tracks coming in on Triple M or on the stretches of Gari Men that we've done. So I'm not sure where all of the lions and wild dogs are, but they seem to not be interested in coming here this morning. Maybe we'll still get lucky though, it's still early in the day. And we've certainly been lucky with birds and elephants so far. This one is still preening itself after the bath. I wonder if these two still have a nest. It'd be interesting to see if they do display any more nesting and brooding behavior over the next while, because we haven't seen it in about a week. But anyway, it sounds like JP has found a really beautiful track that is in the mud. Let's go over and have a look.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Providence. We quickly popped into Buffalo Pan to go and see what's going on there. And we managed to find the tracks of our leopard that we were following a little bit earlier on this morning. However, it seems that they've moved into an area where we can no longer follow. I just want to point out the tracks to you right over here. You can see them. Typical of a cat track has 1, 2, 3 little lobes at the back here, unlike dogs, which generally has 2 lobes. And when we also look at the tracks over here, which is telling us this is a female, has a much more slender toe compared to the male that has got much more rounded toes. We also in general find that the main part of the pad of a female tends to appear much more slender compared to that of a male, that for me is a little bit broader. And then lastly, if you're not sure if you're looking at a hyena or a leopard track, we'll notice that there's no nails and no kidney-shaped toes. But also what we find is that the back part of this pad over here, where the lobes meet, forms a straight line. Where with hyenas, this actually forms a slanted axis. So there's a few things that we actually deducted by looking at these tracks. Firstly, that we could see that they went to go and drink water right over here. And also by looking at the different sizes, we've also discovered that there's also a young cub with them. And there's a track of our younger cub that's over here. Something else that we also looked at is by looking at the tracks is where did they actually go. So we actually do know that they came from this direction as the tracks led up here, and we also had a set of tracks that's leading back. But what we do consistently find is that there's a number of these tracks that's actually over the track that has come into this direction, which means that they've exited back out this way. And we did follow them for a short while, and they actually moved all along the dam wall and then popped down the drainage line at the bottom end of the dam. There's a few other things that we also found over here, some elephant dung and some beautiful mushrooms that are growing up. Good morning, Kenneth, and welcome to the show. Yes, they do make very beautiful tracks, and it's probably one of the neatest tracks for me out there, and because it's so symmetrical. And one of the other animals that's out here, which also forms a very neat little track for me in terms of being perfectly symmetrical, is actually also genets. I just love leopard and genet tracks. Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to actually catch a glimpse of this young little leopard and the mom together. We just need to keep our fingers crossed.
We have left the hyena den and we're just going to take a slow bumble to the eastern side. I want to check the east, but we're about to get to the east. So we're just slowly making our way. Once we get to an open area, I'm going to give you some beautiful views of the morning. I think it might actually brighten up today. I feel like I can smell hyena. I don't know if it's just because I've been to the den. Here we go. It's always important to listen. We actually found hyenas on a kill yesterday just by paying attention to sounds. So I'm just going to stop up here. We're just going to listen to the sounds of the morning. Isn't it lovely just sitting listening to the sounds of the morning? We are just on the move. Hart and Kingi disappeared, but I just wonder if it'll be worth popping back later if I'm not lucky on my next mission to see if other hyenas are there. They all are in that drainage line. Ribbon goes in that drainage line and comes out of that drainage line every single time. But we are heading east. We're going to do Cheetah Cut Line and that sort of eastern slice as much as we can and just see about Tlalamba. She absolutely could be in Torchwood. We have no way of knowing. But other vehicles are going to start traversing Torchwood a lot more now, which means that even though we can't go, we can at least get some updates. It's been a bit of a shift out here. Change is good. She could have just, I don't know, I've been checking the eastern slice every single day. I really don't think she has been using it. But if Tandy has crossed back into Torchwood, as her tracks looked like they did yesterday, then that might just push Tlalamba back this way. No offense, Tlalamba, I love you, but you have the whole of Juma. Shudulu only pops in, never goes past Zoe's. So why, Tlalamba, why do you also need Torchwood? Anyway, rant over. Torchwood is also quiet on the leopard front, but Kuchava does use it, and very, very far east, Kanyeni uses it. But that's way at the Kruger boundary side. Other than that, Torchwood hasn't got that many sort of females that we know of using it. So maybe it is a good spot for Tlalamba, but we'll see, we'll see. The ground is okay for tracks. It's not too damp. It is slowly starting to dry up. Let's see if we can find our princess and her two little bundles of joy. Jenna, you're sending all the spotty vibes my way. Thank you. I feel them. I feel them. I feel them. I got them. I've had our first luck of spots. Spending time with Shasha yesterday was just lovely. When I come for a stint, I always like to just see individuals. And that's why racing around to sightings is not always the answer. You've got to spend time. And when we eventually did get Tlalamba after about 10 days the last time, it was so worth it. Got to put effort into that area. But I feel it. Be nice to get a confirmed answer on the sex of Tlalamba's cubs. I do think one boy and one girl, but again, I'm not 100% sure. And Ribbon's cubs, I don't think it's a female. I think she has two boys, but again, I don't have a monitor, which makes things very tricky for me. I just need to sort of sit at a good angle with my binos. But the way that den is shaped is that when Owen can see, which is what we need, because he's a cameraman, I can't see. And when I can see, he doesn't have a view. So it's a little bit tricky, but I'm not entirely sure it's a boy and a girl, but let's wait. Maybe later I can get some good ID shots. You need to really zoom into the genitalia and hold it there. Sounds a bit bizarre, but you need a really good view, because at that age, the genitalia can look similar. Something has bit me on the arm. Oh, dead tortoise, shame. I think I'll keep going up Cheetah Cut Line. Now when you come to junctions like this, You should always just stop. Animals are using the roads a lot right now because it has been so wet, especially with tiny little cubs. It's not easy for them to bound through the long grass, especially if it's wet. Oh, and do you see any tracks? I don't. But I just want to check. Do you? I'm going to guess that is a no. Okay, as we continue to bumble up Cheetah Cut Line, we're going to send you guys over to Tessa on her bumble.
Seems like Lauren and I have the same idea this morning, checking for tracks along the road. And so far I can see a lot of elephant tracks on Gowrie Main. I can also see probably the most impala tracks I've seen ever on Juma. And it's definitely with the help of the rain, with the roads being a little bit more moist for longer. Everybody's feet are sinking in, so we can see the tracks a lot easier, especially the hoofed animals like impalas. I am looking for any tracks of any predators. I'm not limiting myself to anything this morning because I know the area that we're in is very popular for sometimes the kahumas, sometimes the talamatis. The wild dogs were actually very close to where I am now. When I left them the other day, they were right here underneath the little bush willow. And there are many leopards that frequent this area. So anything that I can find this morning would be wonderful. I feel like we have been very lucky on the elephant front. So that has already given us a good start to our day. That was a little gerbil, did you see it? There was a little bushveld gerbil that just ran across the road, so it looks like a small mouse basically. Bolted across the road and back under the car. Heart attack, it's okay, I missed it everybody. It came underneath the 2 sets of tyres on its way back. Whew. I get my heart rate to calm down again. Goodness gracious, I get the fright. Okay, so I've also seen some hyena tracks. This is good. Okay, so my plan is actually to go towards Owen's favourite road, Mendoza or Monkey Orange. Lucy, I agree, it is playing with fire this morning. That gerbil gave me the fright of my life. Hello, kudu. Got a lovely female kudu up ahead, but I don't want to get too much closer because they tend to be quite nervous. So rather watch from a distance. It looks like she's about to cross the road. Goodness, yeah, it's almost like that gerbil was trying to test everybody this morning. Test my skills. My reaction time. I think this is actually a small herd. I can see 2 more, but coming over very slowly. And I'm hoping they're going to cross the road together. You can see them coming over. Yep, definitely all walking towards the road, and they're actually busy crossing. So we're going to see them in the open soon. And they've probably got the biggest ears to body size ratio other than a wild dog. Very important sense for a kudu is hearing, oh, that's a young male at the back. He's got tiny little horns. But yes, hearing for a kudu is very important, and that's because they would rely on that more than eyesight. You can imagine these kudus, as much as they're in the open now, we actually normally see them more in the dense thickets because they're browsers, they're not grazers. So they feed on leaves in very thick areas in smaller groups than impalas, so there's less ears and eyes. So you can tell she's using her ears almost as radars. They're constantly moving, and that's because she can't see as far as impalas can. They would stay to open areas more. So their sense of hearing is probably slightly more developed than the rest of their senses. She even stopped chewing to listen. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Whew. So if you have a look at what she's eating, she's actually not eating the grass. She's eating part of the herb layer that's growing around the grass. So she's still browsing as much as it looks like she's grazing. We're going to spend a little bit more time with these kudus and see what they get up to. Hopefully they'll stick around for quite a while.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We stopped at one of the little pans and followed up on the tracks of a leopard that we were following on up earlier. We actually discovered that there was actually 3 individual leopards that was drinking here last night, a female with a sub-adult and a much younger cub. And then meanwhile, we also started looking at some of the birds that were found around the pan, and one of those were actually a pin-tailed wider, which was busy displaying. Quite often, these birds are also known as king of sixes, as they often have 6 or more females which they attract towards where they're actually displaying. Brood parasites, and once mating has taken place, the females will go and lay their eggs in the nest of other bird species, and the wider will then simply just move on and look for the next nest to parasitize once it's mated again. We're just going to sit here a little bit longer and listen to the different sounds of the birds in the background, and then from there on move on again.
Love is in the air on this little cluster leaf. We have found 2 elegant grasshoppers in this sort of act of mating. Now it's cold, so they're not going to hop away. I walked right out the car to show Owen and got quite close, and that's because they really don't have the energy to. 1, they're copulating, and 2, they haven't sort of warmed up or got their buzz or their energy from the sun yet. Now, when it comes to grasshoppers mating, especially the elegans, he clings to that female and he does not let go. Even when they've stopped doing the actual copulation process, he still clings to her. He's mounted onto her back, and as you know, the world of insect reproduction is quite diverse. It's mostly sexual, but a lot of insects can reproduce asexually, which is fascinating. And within the grasshoppers, the female just produces eggs once they're fertilized by the male and just lays them in a very, very special place. And even when they're not copulating, he still clings to her. So this poor female, even after they've mated, has still got to deal with the male on her back. And that is naturally because he wants to stop other males getting to her. So he's going to sort of guard her this way for quite a long time. And it's remarkable. You see them hop together. She does most of the hopping because he's on her back. So not only that has she got to deal with the extra weight on her back, she's got to also use those hind legs that are extremely, extremely specialized and hop for the 2 of them. Alison, you're saying, whoa, what a sighting. Absolutely. Mating grasshoppers, what more could one want? Especially elegant grasshoppers. And of course, their reproductive organs are so different from humans, really. He has reproductive organs that you normally call an oedicus. And that's what he inserts into the female, and he's trying to insert his sperm, obviously, into her ovipositor. So it's not really the same way that you would talk about mammals. It's slightly different reproductive organs. But the mating process is really the same. And insects can mate in a variety of ways. I mean, we joke about it, but it is actually quite spectacular. They've evolved to have such a wide range of mating abilities, and that's because insects are so diverse. Look at damselflies. The head is so far away from the reproductive organs. They've got that long, long abdomen. Then how on earth did they work it? And they obviously have a very unique way of creating a sort of love heart shaped position. But in all seriousness, the diversity of insects themselves and body shape has actually allowed for an evolution of a wide range of reproduction methods. And of course, there's different life cycles as well. You think of a butterfly, they have the eggs, the caterpillar, the pupal stage, which is the metamorphism stage, and then the adult, who looks nothing like the juvenile, the larval stage. But then you get the grasshoppers, and that's slightly different, where the juvenile does still look like the adult. When you see a juvenile, newly hatched grasshopper, you can see that it's a grasshopper. It's not the same as a caterpillar and a butterfly, but they'll go through several molting stages. They'll molt and they'll molt and they'll molt until they finally get to that adult stage. And you call the juveniles nymphs. And those are the two main life cycles of insects. Okay, we're going to continue bumbling cheetah cutline. I just wanted to share that with you all, and we're going to send you over to Tessa, who's found some dwarf mongoose.
So I was waiting to get a glimpse of some dwarf mongooses yesterday. And here we have some. They have been creeping out slowly from the chimneys and the hollows in the sides of this termite mound and investigating us. Have a look at that. Little nose is going, it's watching us. Just analysing whether or not it's safe. So we have actually seen another one as well, but it's disappeared around the back. So we're not sure how many mongooses are actually in this colony, but I'm very happy that we've got a nice clear view of one. Oh, good jump. Going off to forage this morning. Agreed, Riley. I think they are so much fun to watch. There's always something going on when you watch a machikichor. It's just constant entertainment. I'm hoping we're going to have another one come out of the termite mound, so I'm going to spend a few more seconds here. That seems to be the main entrance over there. And we've only seen two, and I know the colony must be bigger than two. So every now and then we've just been seeing a little nose poking out there before it comes all the way out. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time here just checking if they do come out. But I'm very happy that we got to see them up close. Where we are, I'm actually maybe 3 meters from that hole. Very, very close by. This is quite a fascinating species to watch as is, just because it's the smallest carnivore we have here, but somehow one of the biggest personalities. It is a very pretty termite mound too. Lots of greenery on the top. Possibly one of the most covered termite mounds I've seen in terms of growth. Okay, I don't think any more mongooses are coming. That makes me sad. But maybe they'll come back from foraging soon. My dwarf mongooses are very closely related to hyenas, so they have got a very similar structure. And they actually will have an alpha pair, but yes, they are matriarchal. And then there'll be an alpha pair that has all of the babies. If they need to have the colony grow quicker, there'll be a beta pair that will also mate and have babies. But if, for example, something happens to the matriarch or the alpha pair, the beta actually just takes over. So it's almost like a mix between the dynamics of hyenas and wild dogs mixed together, matriarch but also alpha and beta mixed together like that, all in one colony. So it is always interesting to try and figure out the position of each one. It's not as easy with something like dwarf mongooses as opposed to hyenas, because how do we tell the difference between individuals here? So you actually have to sit and be very patient and watch majority of the colony come out. So that would be more early mornings, late evenings as the sun is coming up or going down. And then you'd have to watch them and actually watch their interactions with each other. And from the interactions, you should be able to tell who's the alpha, who's the beta, because of the respect that they show each other. So it's quite an interesting mix between a matriarchal society and an alpha-beta kind of system. I always just love how social they are. They do seem to enjoy everybody else's company, especially things like hornbills. Oliver, it's quite difficult to explain, but essentially if you have a look at the DNA and the movements of different animal species over time, so you're looking at a family tree, mongooses are the closest related relatives to hyenas. So hyenas are actually not closely related to dogs or cats, even though they look like a mix of lions and wild dogs. They're not. They're more closely related to mongooses. And you can see it in the face structure. So if you have a look at a hyena's face and a mongoose's face, you'll see it's a very elongated snout, but it's a broad snout. It's not a long, thin snout like a dog. It's a broad snout. Very powerful jaw and the same jaw structure. Very large brain, so very intelligent. And from there, the similarities just keep going. Similar denning system in termite mounds, usually in a clan where you have a specific dominance hierarchy. With mongooses, you'd call it a colony, not a clan. But very similar in terms of social structure, physical structure, even the way that they forage. So you can see it if you look at the finer things, as opposed to, something like a cat, which is actually completely different to a hyena. So it can be a bit confusing when you're looking at it from the bigger picture, but when you start going into the finer things, and especially the DNA, mongooses and hyenas are the two closest related families to each other of those groups together. Very strange, I know. We're going to carry on. It seems like our mongooses have left us. Mongooses, mongai. No, it's definitely mongooses. They have left us. Gone to forage for the day. We will leave them in peace. But I'm actually just arriving now towards Zoe's Road, Philemon's cut line. I want to take a bit of a loop along the west and see what we find as we go. We are going to bumble along on Owen's favorite road, actually called Mendoza or Monkey Orange. And the reason I'm doing that is because I do still need to find you my wild pea plant. I had a bird of prey that's just flown off there. I'm not sure if it's going to land though. Yes, it's landed. We'll try and get a view. It's quite a far distance, but we'll try and get a view. Oh, you can hear the other bird's alarm calling. Look at the crest. So we've got a Wahlberg's eagle, and it looks as though it is on the prowl this morning. It's a perfect day to be hunting, looking for snakes, frogs, squirrels, all the small things. Let's just have a listen. You can hear some birds alarm calling, but we've also got one or two other birds that are congregating on the tree now. There you can see a fork-tailed drongo or two, and they might actually start mobbing it if it sits around for too long. They're almost replacing each other. As one flies off, another one flies in. Quite a lovely scene with the silhouette of that Wahlberg's eagle in the background. I think I could sit here for quite a while longer, very happily, with all of the bird calls happening, watching this big eagle up in the tree.
Not a single sign of Tlalamba on Cheetah Cutline or around Gory Pan. She was really using that Gory Pan area, and of course it's normal for a leopard to move, especially a mother with cubs. Don't want to keep the cubs in the same area too long. A, for safety, smell builds up, and B, for their learning process. They're at the stage, just like a human baby, they're absorbing everything, they're taking everything in, mimicking mum constantly, following mum, mind mapping the entire reserve. So I don't know. I'm going to try Buffelshoek and do a big loop around Hippo Pools and then down Drakensberg. And if I really don't see anything, then she's using somewhere else, whether it is Torchwood or just another part of Djuma. So I don't have the answers yet, everyone, but I shall keep trying. And of course, you never know what could have happened. There could have been a threat that pushed her to move them. You never know. And I mean, if you look at Sabui, she raised Shasha and Langa so successfully. And they're both thriving. They're both independent now. But then she had another litter that Davi and I got to show you all, not quite on one of our properties, but tiny little cubs that didn't make it. And it's nothing to do with the ability of the mother. It's all very circumstantial. So maybe Tlalamba thought, I'm not happy with this area, I'm going to move. You never know. Dave, you want to know about the grasshoppers? That's the rain on. It's very light right now. Those grappers elegans do contain toxins, yes. They absolutely do. To humans, probably wouldn't make a difference, but that aposematic colouring is a genuine warning. And we do see birds eat them a lot. I don't think it's a very, very strong or high level of toxins. And some birds will eat them. But naturally, if you're a very, very small bird, you might not be able to. But yes, they do contain toxins. And that coloration says it. Don't eat me. So yes, they are essentially a little bit poisonous. Because poison has to be ingested. It's a lovely shower I'm getting on my face. Buffelshoek Dam is my least favourite dam, but let's go there. All for you, Klalamba. You've got me traversing Buffelshoek Dam more than I ever would. I always just want to check that road in Yala North. Okay, we're gonna bumble onto Buffelshoek Dam, see what's happening up that side, and we're gonna send you guys over to JP with one of my favorite types of birds.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We quickly popped into the Eco Training camp to come and see if we could find the barred owlets, and we've managed to locate one of the three of them. He's just caught something, ate it, and now flew back up on top of his perch. We're just going to spend a little bit of time with him and watch him again. So some of the few things that we did point out yesterday is how to separate them from the similar looking pool-spotted owlet, which is slightly smaller, and that is that they don't have false eyes on the back of the head. And we also look at the patterns on the head. It's actually barred, hence named barred owlet, and we also see that there's barring on the back as well as on the tail. And unlike that pearl-spotted owlet, we'll find that it has streaking in the underparts. These guys have got fairly large blotches or markings on the underbelly. Also, probably the third of the smallest owl in South Africa, with the smallest being African Scops owl, which is literally only a few centimeters in size. And we get all three of these tiny little owls within the vicinity of a camp. We also mentioned that there's a number of other larger owl species which we get here. Intermediate to that group of larger owls is also a white-faced Scops owl, and then other owls such as both spotted eagle owl, Barrow's eagle owl, and also barn owl is occasionally found around the camp. We're just going to watch this little guy and see what he gets up to. You might hear some sounds coming from the background. That's the kitchen ladies that are busy preparing a scrumptious meal for the students when they return from their activity a little bit later this morning. So if you do decide to come on an eco training camp, you will be trained with both theory as well as practical aspects. And in the mornings we take you out as well as in the afternoons for a practical, and in between there's some lectures as well as time to do a number of other tasks which you have to complete before you are eligible for being practically assessed and being able to go on your theory exam before you finish off your course. So if you are keen to know a little bit more about the eco training courses which we offer, go and give us a visit on our website. We also do offer a number of online courses as well as a number of courses for enthusiasts which is not interested in becoming a guide, but who would love to obtain the knowledge of which guides do have. One of the things that you'll notice with the owls is that they have to turn their heads at a 270-degree angle. Good morning, Benji, and welcome to the show. And to answer your question, what is the best advice I can give to a naturalist in training? Firstly is work hard and be focused on what you need. If you can, also obtain your course material before that you go onto course. Study that. And if you can do an online theory course before that you go actually onto the practical course, that just makes it so much easier for you. And then when it comes to being trained, the training actually never stops, and the learning process never never stops. And I would advise that as that you are continuously growing, to try and do at least one form of a related course to guiding. I also would recommend that if you do the basic course, that is the introduction course or the apprentice field guide course, but you also should actually go and do a trails guide course very soon, as that a guide that is qualified as both a trails guide as well as a field guide is actually more marketable compared to when you only have one of the qualifications. Also, if you do want to do trails guide, you first have to do the apprentice field guide course. Some of the other things that I do also recommend is that you are passionate about nature, and that you also should be passionate about people if you would like to become a guide. There's also a number of different other options which you can go into if you are not fond of dealing with people on a daily basis, and that's obviously going into the conservation management side of things. Good morning, Taz. And Taz is 8 years old, and she would like to ask us, why is it possible for the owl to turn its head at a 270-degree angle or arc? And that's because of a special articulation of the vertebra, the neck, that enables them to do that. We also see that they often have to pop their heads up and down or move their heads from side to side to actually be able to focus. It's not the only animals that I know that can do this. We also see that bush babies have to do precisely the same sometimes to focus, and they also have the ability of turning their heads at those incredibly weird angles. I just love the focus and how focused they are, and these insects that are moving on the ground. What I do also find incredible is we can't see half of the stuff that they are looking at, and it surprises me what they actually catch. And once again, if you do notice when they do go down to the ground, as this one was doing earlier on, that they actually do lift for food towards the mouth with the foot. And we mentioned yesterday that this is one of the characteristics which they actually share with parrots. And we also find that the majority of parrots, I think 80% of them, is actually all left foot orientated. I wonder if there is any such studies or statistics available on owls. However, I've never personally found any of these statistics if they also show a preference for using a specific foot.
We're just stopping at Buffelshoek Dam, and the rain started. It's actually heavier than it looks, so we may have to batten down the hatches here soon. I've got some of our covers on, but not them all. I was really hoping for a morning without rain, but that's okay. We're just going to sit here and enjoy it. Isn't it beautiful? We're actually not getting wet, so we're just going to sit here and watch the rain.
So we're getting a lot of little things on this road that we're on at the moment. First thing I want to show you is an inchworm on my binoculars. Just noticed it now. It's obviously fallen out of a tree somewhere. And it's crawling all over my binoculars. So we've got, it seems like a lot of small life here today. I've also noticed a few butterflies. There's a few little migrants around, the very, very bright yellow ones, but unfortunately flitting all over. But I've also noticed another goat's pea, a goat pea flower, the little purple one that I saw snapping shut in the rain with Owen. Have a look at that. Very unusual looking flower. It's a bit of a creeper. I've been looking for the smaller version, the wild pea, and I haven't managed to find it yet, but it has just started spitting. The rain has started coming down and I'm wondering if we might get lucky. I don't think I'm ever going to get fully lucky enough to see it snap shut again like I saw it the other day. Let me just put this little inchworm back while I'm here. Stop to put it back safely. Timothy, the reason this flower would only have 2 petals is actually because they would have been fused. It would have started with more petals long ago and then fused back together into the 2. And it seems like, from what I saw the other day, it's so that when it starts to rain, it can snap itself shut and it makes a bit of a tent. So the top one, which would be the right-hand side one, would close over the bottom. The bottom would fold in towards the top. It makes a bit of a tent, and that protects the inside where the pollen and the stamen, all of the reproductive parts of the flower that the insects would be attracted to, protects that from getting wet in the rain. So what it's trying to attract with that purple color is those ants, for example, would be one of the pollinators. You can see quite a few ants on there, same as the other goat pea we saw, but also things like flies. Small species of flies, vinegar flies, and those kinds of flies are very attracted to a goat pea. So they need to go right into the middle of where the 2 petals meet in order to get to the pollen or the nectar, anything that they're looking for to eat. And as they're doing that, the pollen will be rubbing off on their bodies. They'll go over to the next plant or the next flower and they'll be able to cross-pollinate them. And then when needed, the plant will snap itself shut to try and protect it from the rain. I do find it very interesting that there is such a close symbiotic relationship between the ants and the flower in particular. Lola, that's exactly what I said to Owen as we saw it snap shut in the rain the other day. It reminded me straight away of a Venus flytrap, because I know that flowers close themselves for bad conditions, but I did not realize how quickly it could happen in some species, and it literally snapped shut. So it reminded me straight away of a Venus flytrap, the difference being that it's not trying to eat the insects, it's just trying to keep itself dry from the rain or the bad conditions. I wonder what it is exactly that these ants are getting from this flower. Whether it could be some form of nectar right at the back there, because they seem to concentrate almost at the flute of the flower where it comes out of the stem. It's the most ants I've ever noticed on flowers is on a goat flower, and that's quite unusual to me. But I also found it unusual that small flies were attracted as opposed to things like bees or butterflies. Also, not the norm in the bush. But any purple flower that you see is always attractive to the eye, because a lot of the flower species we get are the yellow ones or the orange ones, things like a lion's eye or a hibiscus. The only purple species we get are foxglove, the wild peas, which also have a bit of pink in them. What else? Wild morning glory, which is a bit of a trumpet or flute on the floor. And a wild violet. Those are the only purple species I can think of. The rest are yellow, white, blue, and orange. But interestingly enough, animals will see this as a different color to purple. They won't see it as the purple or lilac that we see it as. They'll probably see a little bit more of the UV spectrum. They'll be able to see some blue, probably some yellow, and it actually guides the insects towards the center of the flower. I've been looking everywhere. I actually chose to do this road for a very specific reason, so I could try and find the wild pea. But so far, I've only been lucky with a goat pea. The wild pea is a fraction of that size. I don't know if you can see that butterfly hat, the yellow one. No, let me see if I can move a little bit forward. I've just noticed a migrant that's landed in front of me. Ah, there it goes. Please land. Is it gonna land? Yes, it's landed. I don't know if we'll get it. It's a tiny little butterfly. Oh goodness, where is it? I actually can't see it anymore from the position it's landed in, but it was a fraction of the size of that flower even. Very bright yellow African migrant. I'll be very impressed if you can find it. I'm making it work hard today. But it is really refreshing to see the flowers and the insects out again. Even that little inchworm made my day. Having it fall into the vehicle, onto my binoculars, and then managing to put it safely back onto a strand of grass, and it carried on with its day. Betty Boop, yes, some butterfly species are poisonous. Quite a few different insect species will be poisonous, in fact. And it's mostly the African monarch that is the most poisonous here. And that's because they feed on a very specific plant called a milkweed. Now, milkweed is poisonous, but African monarchs in particular can digest it, and they use it to make themselves poisonous. So they've got very bright coloring. African monarch is the butterfly that's got the very bright orange wings, the white spots on the trim. And that serves as coloration to warn animals that it is in fact poisonous. Now there are some animals that can ingest them anyway, that can digest that poison from the milkweed within the African monarch, but it's quite a limited predatory range. Then you get butterflies that will mimic the coloration of an African monarch so that they look poisonous but they actually aren't. So yes, we do get quite a few poisonous species of insects out here. A lot of grasshoppers are as well, things like beetles too. It just depends on the specific group you're looking at. But I would say the best African monarch, it's actually a migratory species. They migrate from here all the way up north, hundreds of thousands of kilometers every year. We had a flash of elephants just now as well, but they got a bit of a fright. I think there's a big elephant bull and must around, and they've got tiny calves and they disappeared very quickly. So I was hoping I could show you those, but I'm not in luck today for those particular elephants. For the rest of them, we've been very lucky. So I'm still scanning through the grass. To give you an idea of the difference in the size of flowers, the goat pea is probably about that big. The wild pea is absolutely tiny. So that's what I'm looking for. But it sounds like JP is being very successful on his side. So let's head over and have a look at what he's got.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Providence. Darby and I decided to stay a little bit longer with the owls because they're so cute. There was a second one that actually flew in and came to sit with the other one for quite a while. Now the other has actually flew up into one of the trees and has joined the third owlet. But these guys are incredibly hungry and they actually haven't stopped feeding since we've been watching them. They're continuously flying down, grabbing little insects and then eating them. The energy demands on such a young little bird to grow is probably so big. Let's see what they're going to get up to. Hopefully they'll be catching some more insects and showing us how that they actually will feed on them. One of the things that I did also mention yesterday on one of the segments is that these small owl species actually lack the specialized flight feathers on the leading edge of a wing, which many of the larger owls have, which enables them to produce silent flight. And for them, it's not necessary, as insects don't have such great hearing as what small mammals will have, which forms the larger part of the prey for the larger owl species. One of the things that I do also find particularly fascinating about many of the owl species is how they've got facial discs, and those facial discs actually allow them to actually funnel sound to their ears, which is asymmetrically positioned. And the asymmetrical positioning of the ears actually enables them to actually pinpoint things by sound more accurately. Good morning, Sana, and welcome to the show. With regards to your question, what is the biggest thing that they will eat? I've actually seen them eating small little lizards, and that's and also geckos is something that I've actually seen them eating in the past. That's pretty much the biggest prey item I've seen that they do take. That's some of the larger species of owls that we have, like Pharaoh's eagle owl can take anything up to the size of a hare, and even hedgehogs in certain parts of its range where they actually, where hedgehogs do occur to the western part of South Africa. We also got a number of other species of owls which specialize actually in catching fish. And if I remember, they take prey items of up to approximately 700 or 800 grams in size. However, I'm speaking under correction. But for the majority of their diet, that is pretty much small little insects and small little mammals and small little reptiles. Good morning, Carl, and welcome to the show. Yes, they can be predated on by larger owl species. So when we operate as bird guides and we are looking for birds specifically, and we do call-ups for owls, we actually call up the small species of owls first, and then only the larger species, because there's two reasons for this. Firstly, you can potentially lead to that the smaller species will be scared off, and that the smaller species, when will secondly come in, can potentially fall victim to larger owls, which has been attracted to that call. And while we're on that subject of using calls, we actually very seldom use them. We never use them inside the breeding season, or when there's a nesting pair, or where there's a potential nest where the male can be put off by hearing the calls of a more or louder sound. We play those sounds also incredibly softly, and as a guideline, we were always taught not to play the call more than 20 seconds at a time, and also, again, not more than twice. If it hasn't responded by then, don't play it again. But I would also recommend that if you are using calls to protect birds, it's only done by a professionally trained guide, and not randomly done where birds and their well-being can be disturbed. One of the other species of smaller owls that we have in the area, which is the pool-spotted owlet, is also quite often active in the daytime, just like these little barred owlets. And in the case of the pool-spotted owlet, they also will occasionally go for small little birds. And that's one of the reasons why we often use their call or imitate their call when we want to call up a number of birds from the bush, as that they will come and investigate where the pool-spotted owlet is so that they can actually drive it off. However, I have imitated the barred owlet several times, and I never see that birds actually respond in the same way as that they will respond to a pool-spotted owlet. It's cool. Well, in the meanwhile, let's go and see what Tess is up to.
So we found a little bit of an interesting creature as we were walking along. Driving along, I should say, not walking. I'm thinking about walking into this web. We have found a massive bark spider, which is in quite a messy web, which is strung between two very big trees at this point. And have a look at how the web and the edges of that spider are catching the light. That was actually what caught my attention. I saw the silver glint as I turned the corner towards the light. And this is possibly one of the biggest bark spiders I have ever seen. I do not want to walk over and give you a size comparison because I'm too scared that I'm going to walk into parts of the web, because the web spans easily 2-3 meters across at this point and then right the way down to the floor. But that spider, the way it's sitting with its legs next to its body, so not even extended, the way it's sitting, it's probably already 3 or 4 centimeters from top to bottom. So you can imagine with the legs, it's a lot bigger. And it's actually fairly unusual for us to see it like this in daylight on the web. Bark spiders are known for hiding with the bark on trees. So to see it still in its web hunting for food is pretty unreal. It is a harmless spider to us, but just absolutely brilliant at building these big orb nests. And it can take this down and rebuild it every single night if it needs to. So it'll spend the daytime normally against the bark of a tree camouflaging, and in the nighttime it'll come out, build a big orb web like this spanning meters across. Sit in it overnight waiting for insects to fly through. There's a big hole there, something big went through, maybe a bird. And then during the day it'll go back again. I'm wondering though, because of the weather, maybe it's still out and about. Petunia, the web is really stunning, and there's actually quite a few raindrops that are really sticking to it. In some areas in particular, it seems to have a lot of dew and rain on it. We are still spitting over here. It seems like the rain is a consistent spit at the moment, not quite a drizzle. But look at how the water's collecting on certain areas of the web. Makes it look extra pretty. So this is considered one of the masters of camouflage. In terms of the different spider species, this is one of the most difficult to find because of how well camouflaged it is. If you have a look at the body, it's got a very, very large abdomen compared to most spiders. It's very rounded. But the most telltale sign... Oh, hello. Just trying to get the flies off. The most telltale sign is those 2 spiky knobs coming out, one on either side on the top, to make it look almost like a knobthorn. That's the theory. Make it look like a knobthorn's bark. This is also known as a field spider or a hairy spider, and that's because of, you can see all of those little hairs on the legs. I'm fascinated by these little vinegar flies. I don't know why they're so close to the spider. You can see the thicker silk that it's built for its resting place right in the middle, especially towards the top end. Look how thick the silk is, many, many layers of silk in the same place. You can see the web is blowing in the breeze as well, it's moving. Polly, I'm actually not sure why they're called vinegar flies. Maybe back in the day they were very attracted to vinegar. But I can find out if there's a definite answer. I would think, though, that that's what happens, because most of the time when something's named after fruit, for example, or food, for example, a butterfly was named as such because a lot of the species were creamy yellow colored, but were also, there was a belief that they would be attracted to butter and eat butter. So that would make the most sense to me. I'm loving those sharp claws right on the ends of its feet. You can see as it's moving its legs, the silk of the web is moving as well. It's almost pulling it closer together in the middle where there's a bit of a gap. So it's actually a bit of a common misconception because a lot of people call these tiny flies fruit flies. They're actually not. They're the vinegar flies. Fruit flies are a very different thing. But I'm fascinated by how close they're getting. And when that one landed on the top of its body, it actually tried to get it off with a foot. Joey, it is one of the most unusual looking spiders. It's not the classic, legs out looking very menacing. It actually looks fairly small and I want to say cuddly. But that shape is designed to make it look like the little sections of bark that stick out. So you can see why it's a master of camouflage out here. I think, going back to the vinegar flies, I think it's actually the fermentation. It's that sour smell that vinegar flies are attracted to. That's where the name comes from, I'm sure. My goodness, they certainly are pestering it. I wonder what they're interested in there. Maybe they're smelling, because he has got quite a few kills within the web, maybe they're smelling that after he's fed. I don't know. Very unusual. But definitely one of the stranger looking spiders that we get out here. Not quite as striking as something like a golden orb web spider, although the web is actually the same size. But definitely eye-catching regardless. It looks like a giant rock floating on a web.
We're just watching the dark clouds roll in. It's a very strange morning. Sun, blue sky, but also very dark clouds, and we had a little bit of rain. The rain's not over yet, that's for sure, but we are just going to sit, trying to listen. There was a leopard not too far away, and just see if we can hear anything going on around us in the bush. I hope for now the rain stays off and that sun starts to shine. The rain has held off for now. the spitting has stopped. I love all the descriptive words for rain. When you think about it, oh, it's spitting outside. It's actually quite hilarious. We've not had any luck, so we're just going to sort of, this is our last little bit of the eastern slice, as I like to call it. No sign of Kalamba. But that's okay, she could be anywhere. We'll do a little bit of scratching around this afternoon, and then Rexon comes back soon, no? Jaunty's in tomorrow, and then Rexon takes over. And I'm sure he will be able to get to grips with where she is. Rexon is incredible at tracking leopards. If there is a leopard to be found, Mr. Rexon will find it, I'll tell you. Angus, I mean, if it's too hot, no one enjoys traveling when it's too hot. Not a soul. I would imagine cooler weathers. But that doesn't mean you won't find a leopard moving when it's hot. You will. But when it's too hot, it's just a waste of energy. Energetics is the main currency of the animal kingdom. When we say currency, we think of dollars and rand and pounds, and that's our mindset. But in terms of the natural world and the animal kingdom, the currency is energetics. It's all about energetics. And you never want, as an organism, to run into an energy deficit. You should always be in a surplus. And all the activities that animals conduct eats up into their energetics. It uses their currency, territorial patrol, lactation, raising cubs, fighting, hunting, hoisting. It all eats into your energetic budget, and basically going on territorial patrol in the middle of a really, really hot summer's day is not worth it. You're going to pant, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to need to stop for water, you could get dehydrated, it's just going to be uncomfortable. So normally on those really, really hot summer's day, to which we've not had many this month, the animals will just seek shade and wait it out. So I think leopards would much prefer traveling on a cooler morning, on a cooler day. But again, if one is hungry, one is hungry. I remember finding Hukumuri, it was such a hot day. We were trying to get to a water hole, just to sit by the water hole so we could get shade. And also because, well, it's likely that you'll see elephants and things like that on a really, really hot day. And we bumped into Hukumuri and he was on the move. He was stalking Impala. But generally speaking, when it's too hot, it's uncomfortable and energetically costly. No luck. Noah, I miss him too a lot. I had a lot of really good sightings with the hook. The hook. Hukamore. I don't know why we all said his name like that, but we did. Called him the gangster from the West. I remember on WildEarth, we were the first, Davy and I, we worked together with Herbie. Herbie was on foot with the bushwalk team, and Davy and I were in the vehicle, and we managed to work together with the radios to find Hukamuri. And we found him at the Zoe's Rebecca Junction. He was always on Zoe's. And I just took one look at his face and said, "What's wrong? Something's wrong with Hook." And it was his eye. Oh, I remember everyone saying, "Oh, his eye will come back." No, when a leopard's eye looks like that, it's been pierced, it's been damaged by a claw or potentially a porcupine quill. That vision was never coming back. But he thrived. Hukamuri was a survivor, and naturally, when I last saw him, he had a huge gash on his shoulder, and he just looked like he'd lost a bit of condition, and I think he was just facing far too much pressure from the west. There are a lot of big males there, Hosanna being one of them. Tortoise Pan coming in, Flat Rock, there's a lot of males. And of course then Mowati, who seems to skirt along that western boundary of ours. It was a sad story, but I think You should always try to see the silver lining with anything in life. And I think with Hukamuri, although I miss him so much, you also have to understand that what happened is common. Very common. More common than you think, everyone. And we just heard about it because it was the hook. But it's very, very common all across Africa. And it's a big issue, human-wildlife conflict. It's happening in Ethiopia with the wolf. It's happening in the Masai Mara across the board. And it happens here because communities live on the outskirts of these huge wildlife species. And there will inevitably be conflict. And it's very common. Trust me. We just heard about this one and it just became such a big thing because it was Hukamuri. It's a very, very difficult topic, but I think that he at least allowed that topic to come into the light, to be spoken about, to be addressed. It's not something to get angry about. It's a very, very difficult topic. And when you feel so connected to an animal, there's normally a lot of emotion involved. We're emotional beings. But really, I think what I'm going to take from his passing, at least, was that it brought human-wildlife conflict and the issues surrounding it that need to be addressed, the struggles that Africa has. And I say Africa because it's across the board, to light. It's a conservation topic that needs to be spoken about more and needs to evolve to have solutions. And I'm not saying fast solutions, but solutions of some sort. And for me, Hook did that. He put it into the light. And that's a little silver lining that I take from that, because I was actually the last WildEarth viewer to see him. And I saw him walk into the Manguleti. I saw it. I sat at Sydney's Dam. Andrew was the other presenter, and we had Hook. And he just walked into the Manguleti and never came back. So I hold that in my heart and put a lump in my throat. It makes me feel very, very sad. So that's the silver lining that I take from it. At least it was a conversation, a global conversation that needed to be spoken about. Conservation starts with a conversation. Anyway, get that lump in my throat away immediately. It's my last day. I can't be crying on drive. But yes, Noah, I miss him too. Dearly. Sometimes we have such intimate relationships with the animals, and I say all of us, me, the cameraman, and all of you guys, that we forget that there are issues. There will always be issues, always. Wherever there are humans, there will be issues. Anyway, a female leopard, moving on, was seen just in this area, but on the little gallery side not so long ago. So I thought we may as well just scratch around. But those are some very relaxed looking impala. Can you get them from here, Owen? Or have I positioned horribly? I don't think you can see the impala, but we shall scratch around this area, head to Twin Dams and see what else we can find.
I have left the very intriguing bark spider behind, if I can get my words out. And I'm now bumbling along towards Sandy Patch from Impala Road. I'm checking all of the clearings. It's warming up nicely, which is lovely. And what I want to do is when we get to this next clearing, I just want to stop and have a bit of a listen. Because I do feel we're in a very good area. Normally there's impalas around, and if there's no impalas around in the clearings, it's a sign that maybe something moved through. On top of that, I do also have a lot of hyena tracks in the road. Lots and lots and lots of them. So it's worthwhile just checking what might be going on here, because these are looking very, very fresh. So I'm actually going to stop here and just have a little bit of a listen. I know there are quite a few birds around and calling. And it's just a very nice area for us to be appreciating a bit of the sun coming through. Nice and warming on the skin. But also listening for any indications of what might be happening and why there are so many hyena tracks. Mostly everything sounds normal at this point, except that I can hear one bird that sounds a bit unhappy. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time here just listening before I move on. So actually just taking in a bit of a view at this point. We've got some magpie shrikes that are sounding a bit unhappy, and I've had a lot of hyena tracks in the road here. Very, very fresh. The other birds are sounding normal, but the magpie shrikes are not sounding very happy. I'm wondering what's gone on here towards Sandy Patch that the hyenas have been active. Because these tracks are very fresh in the road. And it's not just one set, it's quite a few sets of tracks. It is also almost time for me to do my bird call challenge with you, so I am going to get going on that just now. But I'm just listening for a little bit longer because there's not even any impalas here, which is very strange. So a bit of a strange situation because we've got sunshine coming through, it's warming up, but we've got a massive bank of clouds coming in. The insects and birds are out in force. But if there is something here, it seems most of the birds are not aware of it. We actually maybe drive a little bit further into the open area of Sandy Patch itself. Just see if there's anything around there. There's a little pan system there. Some nice open areas, and it leads straight back up towards Professor Cookline, towards Sydney's Dam. But I am intrigued by all of the tracks. On top of the rain, so it's very recent and they're all looking very distinct. Now, well, I can't hear any cicadas at the moment, but we do still hear them. We hear them into the night on hot days. Last night we could hear them into the night. I haven't heard any this morning. It hasn't quite been warm enough, so cicadas would use the heat of the day to advertise where they are, to amplify that noise. Normally on cooler mornings we don't really hear them as much. So it can become a little bit more difficult. What on earth is that? I don't know if you can get that hat in this little puddle down here. Can you see it from there? You can just see the edge of the puddle. I'm not sure what this is, but there seems to be a lot of little spots on the top of the water. And my initial instinct was, this is frog's eggs. It could also be some form of plant. These look quite strange. Huh. I have never seen that before. I think I've got a lucky shirt on. Oh, what is that? Is that a water boatman there? Yes, it is. That's an aquatic beetle that's trying to get through this. A sea of little round things. Definitely an insect trying to get through. So I don't know if there's any suggestions from all of you what you think this might be. I can see movement of a lot of smaller things in the water, a lot of little insects. This looks so strange. To me, the transparent color means it's some form of egg. But I've never seen eggs like that before. Wow, that is actually quite mesmerizing. What are all of the little black things? Can you see? Little bits of debris and dirt, the occasional insect, some tadpoles. Yeah, it looks like there might be a tadpole per egg. If you have a look in that section, you can see a little black spot in each egg. I think these are little tadpoles and frogs' eggs. That is amazing. Yeah, those definitely look like little tadpoles, Jenny, I agree. Oh, that one you can see very clearly. There's one that's got quite a lot of a bigger tadpole, a few there. That is mind-blowing. These were not here yesterday, everybody. I stopped here yesterday to have a look at the flowers, and there were definitely no frogs' eggs in there. Oh, wow. This is a little puddle next to the road that's been dug by elephants that cannot be more than maybe 40 centimeters across. It's a tiny little puddle, but look how many eggs are in there. It's covered. Can you zoom in on those ones on that side, Gert? Yeah, those ones. Thank you. Oh my goodness, look at them. You can see them moving in the eggs. This is definitely my lucky shirt. It's been such a good day on small things. And that funny bubble on the right, the black one that you can see that's just moving out there, slowly moving, that looks like a beetle. And it could be a shield bug, which is the very smelly insect we're getting around at the moment, or it could be an aquatic beetle, although an aquatic beetle would most likely be underwater. So I think it was just a misguided shield bug that landed in the water. So to give you an idea of the size of these eggs, I would say each one is just a few millimeters long. So these tadpoles are maybe a millimeter, if that. Absolutely wonderful. It's definitely a day of small miracles today, everybody. I'm so happy with this find. And it sounds like Lauren is at the weaver's nest. So go over there and catch up with that generation.
Finally! Finally, this is starting to sound a bit more like summer, smell like summer, and feel like summer. The weavers are coming back. Oh, yes. They're over a month late compared to last year. This is a twin of Twin Dams, Lauren's Pan. Ah, this is the sounds I've been craving this entire month. There's about 4 active nests here, freshly built. And I'm pretty sure we're looking at the southern mast. The southern mast, it's got a red eye, really, really obvious red eye. Whereas the lesser mast has a yellow eye. And it also has, it's not as messy looking as the village. The village can look really messy with all that brown streaking through their feathers, if that makes sense. Messy coloration. The southern mast don't look like that. And one of the nests in the front is a younger bird. I thought it was a female at first, but it's a male just coming into his breeding plumage. Oh, such wonderful, wonderful little birds. I've missed this, everyone, so let's just sit for a moment and listen because I haven't heard these sounds in a while. So happy, everyone. They're definitely late, but that doesn't matter. At least they're here. And I mean, forget Tinder and Bumble and speed dating and all those things. This is real advertisement. This is real craftsmanship right here. Lily, exactly. They're like works of art. They are incredible. They're small birds. They could fit in the palm of my hand. And yet through their beak alone, they snip the grass. So they've got to cut it with their beak. Then they've got to fly with the grass. And then they've got to start weaving it into this intricate, incredible work of art. It blows my mind every single time I see this. And they're fast bird builders too. Between 8 to 12 hours. They can construct an entire nest if they do it in one day. And sometimes they get torn down. If that female isn't impressed, whew, all your hard work will get torn down. And there's literally nothing else that male can do but start again. And the nest design varies. Although the general concept is the same, the nest design actually varies quite adaptively. And the concept is to minimize the sort of detrimental effects by parasites, if you like, but also to create a real suitable microclimate for the parents and the eggs inside with relation to environmental conditions. So they're sort of waterproof, if you like, not entirely, but they're so tightly woven that in heavy rains, they'll still be able to sustain a suitable microclimate inside. Temperature controlled, keeps out parasites. And naturally, by being above water, you are reducing the amount of predators that can have access to this. It's incredible. It's not random. It's not just cute. It is a work of art to us, but not to them. The concept of the design is very functional for exactly what the weavers needed to do, but it will vary. And it's very adaptive to all of those things. They'll adapt it to location, environmental conditions. I've seen a few weavers about, but not in this particular spot, and this is what I wanted. And it's really by parental care, if you think about it, because he's doing all the work. And it's exhausting. It's energetically expensive, going back to energetics. And he's really, really trying hard to create a nice little microclimate for her and the eggs. So although he will go on and mate with many different females and create many different nests, it's actually by parental care. It's a lot of effort from his side. And that's why you will classify it as that. And by parental care, to create solely alone. He didn't do anything in terms of nest creation. JB, you're saying wonderful architects. Absolutely. It's no small feat, although they make it look very easy. It's not at all. I love weavers. And I know that they've got to attract females. If you think about it, it's about everyone with their looks are females, they're all working hard. One's just coming into their plumage, and the others are fully in the full swing of it. And where are females? So they've also got to call the attention of the females, bring them here to then judge which nest they want, and they still might not choose their nest. Whew, Tough life in a male weaver. But we're going to slowly bumble towards camp and see what we can find along the way.
Welcome back to Eco Trading Prylands. This morning when we woke up, it was beautiful starry skies. We actually thought that the weather was actually going to start improving and that we're going to have some sun today. However, it's slowly become more and more overcast and we're already starting to feel soft drizzle on this side. It was incredibly quiet this morning. However, we've managed to find a number of interesting things. The tracks of a leopard as well as the cubs, where they were busy drinking. We really hope that they're going to actually be able to catch up with them. We also had a view of a number of barred owlet chicks that was busy feeding. From there we made our way back towards one of these other dams and eventually towards Leopard Dam to come and see what we can find on this side. It seems to be equally quiet on this side, and so far we had a brief glimpse of some Egyptian geese, a blacksmith lapwing and a few other bird species. There's more calls than that we can actually see birds at the moment, so what we'll be doing is just allow for a silent moment and to listen to the different sounds of nature in the background. Welcome back to Eco Training Prylands. We made our way to Leopard Dam to go and see what we can go and find on this side. So far, it's a little bit quiet. We had a brief glimpse of some Egyptian geese that now has moved off. We're going to do a short little silent segment and allow you to listen to the different sounds in the background. Alternatively, you're also more than welcome to ask us questions. Good morning, Miriam, and welcome to the show. And with your question, how do you tell the age of a tree? One of the ways is actually by physically cutting down the tree and then counting the growth rings on the inside of it. Alternatively, there's also more sophisticated methods, which is such as radiocarbon dating, which can also provide you with some insights on how old a tree is or when it actually started going through a process of decay. Good morning, Nana, and welcome to the show. Yes, it's absolutely beautiful. I just love silhouettes on the water. And quite often, if it's at sunrise or at sunset, it will allow for absolutely stunning photos, especially if there's no wind and you get that mirror image on the water itself. Some of the sounds that you might be hearing there in the background is that of two Birchall's cuckoos, which is busy calling. Quite often we hear a number of different bird species that will actually call all at once. Quite often when it comes to pairs, that is actually a duet that is performed between many species, which is there to strengthen the pair bond. In other cases, we also find that birds might share information about food, also about potential threats, as well as just informing one another where they are so that they can maintain a nice tight group and that they don't wander too far off from one another. We can also hear the soft chirping of crickets in the background. And what I do find particularly fascinating about these crickets is that the intensity of a sound that they can create is directly correlated to the temperature at that moment. Good morning, Joseph, and welcome to the show. And with your question about bucket list things that I would love to go and see, there's quite a few bucket list animal species I have, and for Southern Africa, that's definitely palm civet is one of those. Then striped weasel, black-footed cat, and then when we start venturing into the oceans, the largest dolphin on the planet, which is known as a killer whale, is definitely on my wish list. And then I would love to also see a whale shark, which is the largest fish species on the planet. I've never been able to see those. I also would love to see a polar bear. That's definitely on my list of animals to see. And then there's a host of different bird species which I would love to find. And those are both birds that can be found in Africa as well as on a number of other continents. I definitely would love to see some of the different owl species which is found further up in Africa, and one of those is Pharaoh eagle owl, which I would really like to see at some point. And then snowy owl, which is another owl species which you get up in the Arctic, which is definitely on my wish list of birds to see. And for some strange reason, I would love to see a Somali ostrich, which is quite different to that of the common, an appearance to that of common ostrich. Well, it seems if we are going to get rained out, and we're going to unfortunately have to start moving on because we're still far from camp, and unlike the Jimmer vehicles, we unfortunately don't have rain covers for our cameras. Let's go in another ad pod. And welcome back to Eco Training Prylands. We're going to do a fast driving session because it's starting to dry on this side, and unfortunately we don't have roofs that can cover our camera, and because of the sensitive nature of the camera pack, we'll be moving fairly fast. So you're going to see a lot of bouncing up and down of the camera, but in the meanwhile we're just going to slowly start heading back. one of the great things at this time of the year is when there is rain, and really value rain in this part of the country, especially as a guide. I've actually experienced 2 very intense droughts over the years. It might not always be fun for us when we are guiding or when we are trying to bring out segments. It's so important to sustain this whole ecosystem. We often find that within the savanna system we go through periods of incredibly high rainfall followed by incredibly low rainfall. And those are generally between 7 to 10 years of high rainfall periods, followed by 7 to 10 years on average of incredibly low rainfall again, which brings the droughts on. And those droughts also form very important natural selection tools, eradicating weaker animals out of the ecosystem, and those that are enabled of adapting. Those that can adapt, they end up being the strongest species, and the ones that are best adapted to that specific climatic conditions.
We're back live, everyone. Just had the most incredible Ellie sighting. Sorry about the tech loop, but we're back just in the nick of time. It's a big herd, and they are all slowly heading towards Gowrie Dam. So if you do want to continue watching them, I think they're going to pop out of the dam. Very relaxed. Happy herd. I'm just going to try and move forward a little bit. I think that's most of them. And that's because we're running alongside the Mowati drainage, and this drainage takes you right to Gowrie Dam. And the elephants love it. The vegetation, the shade, the smells. There's nothing quite like an Ellie roadblock, that's for sure. I can't even go anywhere even if I wanted to. So thank goodness it's not raining. I mean, that Ellie sighting yesterday, I really don't think I'll ever forget that for the rest of my life. It was... We picked up on it energetically. It's hard to explain. If you really try to tune into energy out here, we could feel the tension from the minute we approached the herd and we saw that musk bull. He was very relaxed. He was a gentleman. He was not relaxed. He was calm, but he was dribbling furious, losing a lot of water. And he was in the peak of his must. And we knew, oh, he's after a female. And the minute I saw another bull, we could feel the tensions from very early on. And it was just, oh, it was an incredible sighting. And the herd ran. They ran. We could hear them all running. Out of there. They didn't want to be anywhere near those bulls that were clearly having an altercation. The females know, do not keep, could get violent, it could get aggressive, not towards them, but displacement, aggression. You don't want to have your calves anywhere near big bulls that size who are clashing, literally. Yep, they're heading to Gowrie Dam. Mia, you're saying what a lovely peaceful drive it has been. No Tlalamba, I'm afraid, but active hyena den, ellies, grasshoppers, mongoose. It's been great. Oh, I love this. Let me just get a little bit closer for the last seconds of the drive. But they are definitely heading to Gowrie Dam. And thank you guys for joining. It was a lovely drive and you made it lovely. And we will be out this afternoon, my last drive. So please do join us. You never know what we're going to see. I hope the rain stays at bay and the sun really pops his head out this afternoon. That's what I'm hoping for. But thank you everyone for jumping on board. All your comments and questions, and we shall see you this afternoon. Goodbye for now.